Hi there. I just recorded log 42, which is obviously very important because of life, the meaning. It's the meaning of life. I can't speak. Two is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. So I was going to read to you Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I started off by reading some unhelpful remarks from the author, but I think some people might not enjoy that because it's not the actual book. So I might cut it, I might throw it away, or I might upload it, I don't know. So in case you didn't see that, I'm going to just read the actual book, because and I'm going to get on with it. I just think I look a bit bright. See if I can put the brightness down. It won't let me change it while it's recording. So I'm going to be bright white. It won't let me change it. 45. There's white. Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose 8 descendant life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Most of the people living on it were unhappy for pretty much of the time. Many solutions were suggested for this problem, but most of these were largely concerned with the movements of small green pieces of paper, which is odd because on the whole it wasn't the small green pieces of paper that were unhappy. And so the problem remained. Lots of people were mean, and most of them were miserable, even the ones with digital watches. Many were increasingly of the opinion that they'd all made a big mistake in coming down from the trees in the first place. And some said that even the trees had been a bad move and that no one should have ever left the oceans. And then one Thursday, nearly 2,000 years after one man had been nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be to be nice to people, for a change, a girl sitting on her own in a small cafe in Rickmansworth suddenly realised that what it was that had been going wrong all this time, and she finally knew how the world could be made a good and happy place. This time it was right. It could work, and no one would have to get nailed to anything. Sadly, however, before she could get to a phone to tell anyone about it, a terrible, stupid catastrophe occurred, and the idea was lost forever. This is not her story, but this is the story of that terrible, stupid catastrophe and some of its consequences. It's also the story of a book that's called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not an Earth book, never published on Earth, and until the terrible catastrophe occurred, never seen or even heard of by any Earthman. Nevertheless, a wholly remarkable book. In fact, it was probably the most remarkable book ever to come out of the great publishing corporation of Ursa Minor, of which no Earthman had ever heard either. Not only is it a wholly remarkable book, it is also a highly successful one, more popular than the Celestial Home Care Omnibus, better selling than 53 More Things to Do in Zero Gravity, and more controversial than Oolong Kalufid's trilogy of philosophical blockbusters, Where God Went Wrong, Some More of God's Greatest Mistakes, and Who Is This God Person Anyway? In many of the more relaxed civilizations on the outer eastern rim of the galaxy, the Hitchhiker's Guide has already supplanted the great Encyclopedia Galactica. Sorry, Alex. Galactica as the standard repository of all knowledge and wisdom, for though it has many omissions and contains much that is apocryphal, or at least wildly inaccurate. It scores over the older, more pedestrian work in two more important respects. Firstly, it is slightly cheaper, and second, it has the words "Don't Panic" inscribed in large friendly letters on the cover. But the story of this terrible, stupid Thursday, the story of its extraordinary consequences, and the story of how these consequences are inextricably intertwined with this remarkable book, begins very simply. It begins with a house.